Good morning, everybody. I, Isha Gupta, student manager of BIMHRD, would like to introduce a very special stalwart, Mr. Devesh Khanna. He is a director with Make My Trip and the head of retail, franchisee, B2B and airport business. With Make My Trip, he has also headed the outbound holidays division and was earlier with the head of group division at Make My Trip. With over 20 years of experience in the travel agency, he has spent his entire career with the Indian travel industry and has worked with brands like SOTC Kunyu and Thomas Cook in the past. Born and brought up in Delhi, he has worked in many cities across India and is at home in many metros in the world. An avid traveler, he has covered the entire globe many times over. His knowledge of various destinations surpasses the locals at a lot of places. A hotel management graduate from PUSA Delhi, he realized very early in his career that his path in life was not hotels, and he shifted to a sister industry. He has grown from a sales executive to heading the largest team in the biggest travel company in India today, Make My Trip. During the course of his career, he has ensured he has kept up his learning and is today a certified destination expert for a lot of countries across the world. He is also an advanced management professional certified by St. Stephen's College and Rice University, London. May I now request Mr. Devesh Khanna to address the audience and guide us with his words of wisdom. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I love when we have somebody from the services, the colonel here, because he's able to generate a response from you guys like nobody else ever can. Believe me, I come from a family where my in-laws are from the Air Force. Every time I go there, I can't slack down on the sofa. They keep you uptight and upright and all the time. And I keep telling them, boss, I'm tired, but they just don't listen. So it's good to have somebody from the forces here. It's also good to see all of you so well, uniformed, neatly placed, first thing in the morning. I've not seen a lot of campuses like this. And when I'm saying I've not seen a lot of campuses like this, I've been hearing about the discipline here and the way you guys culture yourself, the way you guys are held in your studies and the way you guys are groomed. And let me tell you, I'm very, very pleased. And I'll tell you why I'm pleased when we go forward. The best thing was when I was coming here and I was told to deliver some amount of speech to you guys, I did not know what to speak to you guys till about a few days back. I kept on looking at what your institute is all about, what the process is all about. And then I came across this line. How many of you recognize this line? All of you. Fantastic. It's a part of your mission statement. And you know what held my vision was actually, or what held my thought on this was, can I go forward with this? Just give me a moment. Will it not click forward?
The batteries are over.
Can I use this? Yeah. Okay. So these were the exact words I took out, these 4 words I took out. Turning corporate problems into opportunities. Do you guys know what are corporate problems today? Can anyone here give me 1 or 2 sentences on what are corporate problems today? Pardon me? I can't hear you. Again. Talent. What else? Attrition. What else? So these problems you're going to solve. This is automatically solved by looking at you wonderful people here. What else? What are corporate problems? What are you being trained for? What are you being groomed for? Customer problems. Okay? Expectations. Okay. So let me try and answer all of you in a couple of sentences. If you believe, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant here or egoistic here, but if you believe you can step in next year or next to next year into a corporate world and solve a customer problem or the uncertainty of a market, which the stalwart sitting there for 20-25 years cannot, you're mistaken. You cannot. I'll tell you what the problems are. And I will also tell you why people at my age are really, really hoping, and I was discussing this with the president today morning, president of your college, whom I had the honor of meeting, that people at my generation, my age, are really hoping this generation that is going to come out in the market tomorrow is up to the mark. And if you are not, believe me, we are doomed. When we hit 60, 70, we are going to go down the drain because we work very hard for it. And when we're saying we work very hard for it, you'll see this in subsequent slides, but the kind of problems that you think you're going to solve is not the problems that you're thinking of right now. There are very different problems that you're going to solve. This is a snapshot of the people who join our company. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years. And it could be any corporate company. It doesn't have to be Make My Trip. Do you think they look unhappy? Do you think they have problems? In these pictures, do you think they have problems? They don't have problems. They don't have problems. And they're aspiring to go here. In another 5 years, 7 years of your life, for some of you 3 years, for some of you 9 years, I don't know. But you're trying to get to these positions. You're trying to get into boardrooms, you're trying to get into chauffeur-driven cars and luxuries of life. And that's what you're aiming for, isn't it? Yes? No? Yes. Great. So the problems are not there, the problems are here. But who's going to solve those problems are the people in this picture up. And that's you, and I'll tell you why. Like I said, if you think you can solve a customer problem or a market uncertainty problem, you cannot. The guys at the bottom pictures are far more experienced to solve this. But what you can do is to help sustain. To take you through this, to make you understand better, imagine you're driving a car at 200 kilometers per hour or 220 kilometers per hour. When you're driving a car at that speed, what happens? Are you able to change the music? Are you able to adjust your air conditioning? Are you able to listen to your mobile? Are you able to talk to the person sitting next to you? Are you able to do any of this at 220 kilometers per hour? You cannot. And believe me, we've been driving cars. We go down to Europe, we drive at 250 plus. You can't do anything but look at the road. And you don't even know what you're doing. You're just concentrating very hard and running. And the environment in this market is changing at that speed. And the people in the bottom pictures are the guys who are driving cars at that speed right now. Because they're trying to keep up with the market. The market in the last 10, 15 years has changed drastically. Just to keep up, we've had to drive at 250 kilometers per hour. But you can't keep on living like this. Somebody has to adjust the air conditioning. Somebody has to step in and change the music to a lighter tone, the tone that I like. Somebody has to be able to step in and say, there's a rest stop coming up another 5 kilometers, maybe we can take a break there. And that is not me. That is not the generation that you're looking at the bottom pictures. Because these guys, for the next 5 to 7 years, will still keep driving at that speed because the market is changing at that speed. The guys in the picture above have the luxury of stepping back, waiting, looking, and helping us solve those problems. And that is why I said in the very beginning, I'm really hoping this generation comes out at the mark that we're expecting it to. Otherwise, we are doomed at 60. Another 20 years from now, we'll be in a mess. Are you guys up to it?
Yes, sir.
Very low yes, sir. This response will not get you anywhere. Are you guys up to it?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely fantastic. That's what you like. So, some nuances of corporate life, the way we live it today, and I don't want to dishearten you or disillusion you. You should know what we go through. Can somebody answer this question for me? You're all wrong. Can somebody answer this question for me? Yeah, so it's already there. Anyone who has this answer? Boss. Sleep. Okay, so all of that put together, these are our problems. These are the problems that we're trying to solve today. We don't have any other problems. I can tell you hundreds more which we go through, and sleep is one of them. We are really tired for sleep at times. I was a guy who used to sleep 4 hours or 6 hours every night. And today, you put me in a car with proper air conditioning and just silence for 2 minutes and I'll sleep. And I don't know where this comes from, but I think it's this lack of sleep everywhere. But this is not the only part of the world. We also get all this. So this is all waiting for you, alongside what is there. I'm just hoping when you guys come into that age, 5 years, 7 years from now, and markets are stabilizing to some extent, while it's still disruptive, but it's stabilizing to some extent, you'll be able to bridge the gap between these statements and the money below it, okay? And not live the way we live our lives today. We're building it up for you, but you have to take it on from there. And that's what the professional lives are all about. But while you're doing this, and while institutes like this are managing to groom you, educate you, knowledge is being provided to you, there are some things I feel that you can learn from people like me, people at my generation, people at my positions, which I really want to spend some time on today. So what is your advantage today? You know, I was telling the president again in the morning, I'm jealous of you guys. In my age, my day, when I was graduating from college, and believe me, I was just honored to graduate, not a graduate honor. There was nobody to guide me. When if I was taking up engineering, there was nobody to tell me what is the scope of engineering. I had to be an engineer because my parents wanted me to. If I became a doctor, because my mother wanted me to. If I became a hotel management graduate, that's because my father was from the hotels. And we were just following legacy. I didn't have any scope of future that was happening. You don't have that problem, you know. While the professors are there, there is also the internet, the world is open, you know a lot. And there was no tolerance when we took our first jobs. I stepped in late, 3 days in a week I was fired from my first job. I begged my manager to take me back in the evening. And that is the kind of tolerant policies that were there at my point of time. But today the world is very tolerant. Because you rightly said in the beginning, this is the biggest wealth any country or any business can have. And it's sitting right here. Systems are transparent, you know, things are not hidden from you anymore. You realize the big picture. When I was working, I was just given a sheet to work on, and I could keep thinking, my boss is an idiot. You know, he doesn't understand what he's doing. But there's a big picture around it. And I never saw that because there was no transparency in the systems. It's there today. Any company, be it IT, e-commerce, non-e-commerce, transparency is all there. You all realize what is happening. People are open to feedback. First name cultures have taken away the hierarchical aspect of the whole thing. If my junior is not happy with the way I'm treating him, he can go up to my boss and I don't have to feel bad about it. It's the kind of culture that's developed. And it's changing because I think India is seeing the wealth of people and the wealth of you people sitting here. And that's why we've adapted ourselves. 20 years back, I couldn't go up to my boss and say, look, you know, I think you're doing a damn bad job. I don't have any other word right now. I think you're doing a bad job. I couldn't tell my boss this. You know, he'd fire me the next day. You don't do this today. There are people who can come on to me on my face and say, sir, I think what you're doing is incorrect. I can show you a better way of doing it. Imagine a 10-year younger guy, a 15-year younger guy coming up to me and saying, you know, I'll show you a better way of doing it. How does it hurt to my ego? It just doesn't sound very well. But I have to take it because I have to learn. And I have to learn because this generation is learning, it's coming up very fast. The market is changing, it's disruptive. The biggest one here is looking at failure as an attempt. And let me give you an example. I tried my hand on my own business, 1997, 98. I failed. But I spent a year in doing that business and I tried to build it up. In my resume, when I went to my next company, which was SOTC at that point of time, I wrote, you know, I was a failed businessman. I failed as an entrepreneur. And the HR guy took it very nastily. He said, boss, you're a failed guy. You can't do anything in life. You failed in your own business. How will you do justice to your job? He didn't take me on the first go. On the contrary, in today's world, if you are an entrepreneur, you failed in an attempt. And if you go up to an HR guy and you write, you know, that I failed as an entrepreneur. I tried. He'll happily take you because he thinks you've already learned mistakes from your mistakes on your own money, not his. So the world has changed. Failure today is seen as an attempt. It was seen as a disgrace some 15 years back. And the market is willing to experiment. When I'm saying willing to experiment, I've put the word make my trip there and we'll come to it later. I don't want to touch it right now, but everybody's willing to experiment. How many of you are willing to experiment with your careers? That's encouraging. That's very, very encouraging. Imagine I did a 3-year specialized hotel management course, and after 6 months into my first job, I quit my career. I said, I'll adopt a different career. 3 years of training, education gone down the drain. But I did it when I did it, and I think you guys are luckier. The industries today absorb from parallel industries a lot. I want to leave you guys with a small piece of advice as you go forward. This is something I've learned in life. So these are big words you've already heard. Haven't you heard of all these big words? You know, you have to be optimistic, attitude, this, that, the other. But this is what everybody else tells you. What people would not tell you when you step into the corporate world. And before I step forward, How many of you are actually wanting to go to the corporate world? And how many of you want to go into your own businesses? Build your own corporate world. Great. Fantastic. There are some things that people will not tell you. And there are some things that you should learn eventually. This is a small word that I learned the hard way. Nobody taught me. I learned it the hard way, and I keep spreading it with my friends and my colleagues as much as I can. There are 2 or 3 things that matter in life today. And while you're getting good education, you have a good institute, you have a good backing up, and you have a good, fantastic resume tomorrow to go forward to any company and say, look, I am from BIM. Here's my resume, I want to get hired. These are 4 things that you should not forget. Can somebody tell me what is unforgiving times? What do I mean by unforgiving times? Do you have a clue of what is unforgiving times? No? Nobody has a clue on what is unforgiving times? So these are tough times, everybody knows, but how is it unforgiving? But I just told you mistakes are tolerated. Attempts are looked at, failed attempts are looked as opportunity. There is second chance, no? Failure is looked as an attempt. This is not unforgiving. What? They'll still take you back, my friend, believe me. There is so much dearth of people today in the industry. They'll still take you back. And I'm sure coming from institutes like this, you will not make the same mistake more than 2 times. Or maybe 3 times, okay. Not there. Okay, let me not just keep you guessing. Let me just go back to a good one. So what do I mean by portfolio? You all make your resumes, you all make your references and everything. It's over. How many of you have got Twitter accounts? How many of you got LinkedIn accounts? And in LinkedIn accounts, how many of you have more than 500 connections? 500 connections. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Even with the few numbers that are here, I'm really impressed. What matters today is this. When you go to find a job, believe me, HR does its job today very well. They will research each and every candidate thoroughly. What is written on your resume is something that has to be corroborated with your LinkedIns and your Twitters and your Facebooks and your websites. I don't have a deveshkhanna.com. I intend to get one. But I'm a guy who started working on ledgers, writing by hand, and I'm still adapting to the e-commerce industry, and I'm still adjusting to the digital world. But you guys were born with it. Why don't you have your own websites? Even if it means taking a parallel website, something.com/your name. Why don't you have your own websites? It's a good way to go forward. Build up your portfolio. Build it up today. Because every HR guy in the industry can see when was it built. So if you build up your website 2 days before the job, he'll know. Build it up today. What's the harm? You have enough time on your hand. Don't think about the mess. Just go ahead and do something. Build it up. Put on your LinkedIn profiles. Spruce it up. Tweak something nice. Keep in touch with your friends. Follow each other. And you'll figure out that world is changing. And this is what people look at. We look at more active people. Unforgiving times is something I should tell you about. And I've done this with a lot of people. Every time a new batch comes in to make my trip, at least in my unit, I make it a point to tell them. I'm standing here in front of you. I've been given such warm words by Isha, and it made me feel very nice. But I've not always been the guy the way I am today. I was unruly in college. We didn't have this kind of discipline setup that you guys have. We had a strike. I got on the walls. I was screaming, principal ko nikal do and all that jing bang. And believe me, nobody clicked a photograph. I'm not happy about what happened at that point of time, but I was too young to know. And there was nobody around to teach me. But nobody clicked a photograph. There were no cameras. Nobody made a video out of it. There was no technology. And today, when I'm telling you this, I'm exposing a part of my secret to you. Who knows this? Probably some of my friends from college whom I'm in touch with. Or the principal who got hammered at that point of time. Nobody else. But what happens today when you do something like this? Somebody clicks the photograph, posts it somewhere on the net. Anywhere, any upload, any blog, any spot, any LinkedIn, any tweet that he does. Internet has a very bad habit. The digital world will store that photograph for how long? For how long will the photograph be stored? Forever. For 1,000,000 years, if the humanity continues for 1,000,000 years. And tomorrow when I look for you as a possible candidate to work for me or with me, that photograph will pop up. That tweet will pop up. And believe me, nobody wants to get people like that. Nobody wants rebellion in the systems. We have enough rebellion within our systems anyway. Now do you understand what are unforgiving times? You guys understand? Good. Stay away from religious tweets. Stay away from political tweets. I know it's this age where you want to express your feelings, you want to express your thoughts, and you really feel very good or bad about our Prime Minister or our ministers and our local MLAs and everything. Please stay away. You guys have a very good education background. You're coming up from one of the most premier institutes in the country. You have a bright future ahead of you. If you do all this now, believe me, 10 years down the line, it's going to start hurting you. Today, nobody will think about it. When I'm hiring an executive or a management trainee from your college, in my institute or my company, I will probably forego this information. So he was unruly for a bit. He tweeted about religion. It's all right. He tweeted about politics. It's all right. Let's ignore this. But what happens 10 years from now when you're becoming the chief financial officer or the chief HR officer or the chief technology officer or the chief business officer or the chief holidays officer, when you have a CXO attached to you, when the word C comes in the beginning and the O comes at the end and there is a big X in the between which you can do an A or a B or a C or whatever, what happens then? Which company do you think will want to take up people who are tainted? Which company will want to take up? You search on the net for anybody you want. People sitting at higher positions in all companies. You will not find a single message which is negative about them, which has a certain authenticity to it. Try this. And that is exactly what we look for. When you become a CTO tomorrow in a company like Make My Trip or any other company, you think somebody will accept you? When they see 10 tweets from you which is going on religion and politics and this, that, the other, it doesn't work. These are very, very unforgiving times. Please be careful. You're starting your careers, you're starting your life. You've lived about 20, 21 years of your life, 22 years of your life, or whatever your age is. Your work life ahead of you is about double that, or more than double that. And you have to be very careful of where you start off. Am I clear? Do you all get it? This is the key message that I want to give you. This is the most important word I want to tell you guys. This is where people make mistakes. Kids make mistakes today, and they are punished. Marketing. So how can you market your personality? You're already on LinkedIn, Twitter. How do you market yourself? Why do people still buy surf? It's still marketing itself. It had died a natural death some time back. It's come up again. Why do people buy an LG TV more and not a Micromax more? And the numbers may have turned yesterday, but I'm just taking from experience. They market themselves very well. People accept brands. People accept what you market to them. And that's a global profile. When 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 20, 15 of you stand up for the same position in a company, who do you think will be selected more? Who has a higher chance of getting selected? All of you have the same background, all of you are from the same college, same institute, same professors, same great teachers. Who out of you 15 do you think will get selected? But how do you market yourself? Your resumes are plain simple right now. It says, this is your schooling, this is your college, this is your advanced management program. Isn't everybody's resume almost the same? How do you stand out? And I'm not trying to turn you over onto your colleagues, but I'm trying to prepare you for the unforgiving world outside. How do you stand out?
There's one unique.
Fantastic. Yes.
One unique thing in every resume. So I think that will actually differentiate people.
What's the unique thing? Co-curricular activities. Fantastic. May not get you everywhere in life. It's always there. Anyway, do something like this. Put in some hard work right now. You're still not at that age in life where you have to sleep for 3 hours, 4 hours and still get up in the morning and still take a 9-hour flight and land. And believe me, no jet lag, you have to go straight for a meeting. You can do all this. Can you not do this? Is it not easy to do? Can you write blogs, good ones, about life, about your college, about your colleagues, about your experiences? Can you do that? Can you participate in some green initiatives, even if it's online? Social activities around you, at your hometown, even if you go there for 3 days. Can you do that? Do this. Add it to your resume. This is what I did. This is what I did. People like people who are socially active. We like people who are socially active. You may not realize, I mean, your generation is of course realizing the fact that we are running into carbon emissions. It's becoming difficult to breathe. I've spent a lot of my time overseas. Believe me, even now, and part of my family is in Germany. I was just there about 2 weeks back. I was there for about 2 weeks. I was doing some official work. I was traveling across Europe because I look after that division as well. And I was also spending time with my family. The first thing that hits you when you land from Europe, back into India, back into Delhi after 2 weeks, you know the first thing that hits you? I find it difficult to breathe. I almost have this, you know, I almost struggle to fill in my lungs with more and more oxygen. And you guys are realizing it. Fantastic. You guys already know it. Your generation is the one which is standing up and doing this. We've spoiled it, but we were driving at 250, you know. We didn't realize what was happening around us. We were just going one way. It's time for you guys to step back and take charge. Get into social activities. Get into green initiatives. Do something. Add it to your resumes. It'll add to your marketing. Build up a brand. When people buy an LG refrigerator, they're not buying a refrigerator, they're buying the LG brand. That's the brand you guys have to become. When you become a brand, people will buy. And peer pressure, not too much. Don't get bogged down by somebody buying an iPhone 6 and somebody buying an S6, and you have to buy the same, you have to keep up. Believe me, it doesn't matter. I keep an iPhone only because my company has some security guidelines in which I have to work. I'm very happy with an Android. That's me. Don't get into peer pressures. Don't fall into pressures too much. Live your life. Live your cool life. You have till about 3 to 5 years of enjoying it. After that, you're dead. You know, after that, you'll get killed. And the best thing I can tell you today is organize yourself. I was talking yesterday to some of your students. They said a lot of you do less calling and more of data today. WhatsApp, emails. How many of you have more than 20 emails in your inbox right now? More than 20 emails in your inbox. Show of hands. Not good, guys. That's not organizing yourself. You mean all of you have 20 plus pending jobs? At your age, I don't think so. Organize yourself. Keep your inboxes empty. Keep your phones empty. Keep your minds empty. Otherwise, you'll not be able to absorb anything else. You know, it's like a bucket being full of water. How much water can you keep pouring in? Get yourselves organized. I'm telling you, keep your lives empty so that you can take in more. That's the only way to organize yourself. My life revolves around a calendar today. I'm the most forgetful guy that can happen. My wife has to actually pen down my calendar and send me a link to the calendar Outlook. And pen when we have to go to my daughter's PTM or whenever I have to take a dog for vaccination. She has to pen it down in my calendar. But I organize myself. That's the way I'm organized. These 3-4 things if you do in life, I'm telling you, you'll go a long way. You will not realize what I'm saying today for the next 3 to 5 years. After 5 years, some of you, if you still remember who I was or who I am and when I came here, you'll thank me for this, believe me. Because there was nobody to teach us all this. Anyone has any questions? Anyone has anything to say on this? Anyone has a contrary view to what I'm saying? Please be open, we're okay. I just told you we're open to taking feedbacks now. No? Good. I've also been learning that, and we had a show of hands. Some of you want to open up your own businesses. May I ask one of you to stand up and tell me why you want to open your own business? It's not a bad idea, by the way. I'm not trying to negate the idea. I just want to understand, as a young professional, why does somebody want to open his own business right now? Yep.
So by opening our own business, we can do one thing. We can just take our own decision.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Why do you want to open your own business at this young age? Any reasoning? Does everybody believe him? You all agree, guys who are wanting to open your business? You want to make your own decisions, not be governed by anybody else's decision. Is that what you want? No? Yes? No? Okay. Guys, if you want to open, yes. Yeah. Generate employment. You can generate employment sitting the way I am. The retail was about 20 people strong in Make My Trip when I took it up. Today it's 350 people. in 2 years, I'm generating more employment. So anyway, good. Some of you guys are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs. It's a great thing to happen in today's world. Open up a business, no issues. My only problem is at this age, why do you want to learn and experience at the cost of your own money? You know, go out to the world is open, they're paying. At least get some experience before you start attempting something. Get a way of life. And then when you open your business, most people don't realize this, but market research is something you spend most money on. You know, one of my friends opened up a pet daycare business online and this, that, the other. He never anticipated the kind of costs he was going to incur. And because he did not do his market research properly, he did not realize people like me who have pets at home, I wouldn't want to leave him with a stranger. I'd rather leave him in a proper canine hospital than a stranger's house. He didn't do his market research. He didn't do his homework. He didn't get his financials right. What happened? After 2 years, he broke down and he went back for a job. And this time broken. Broke with money and broken in heart and spirit. If you want to do a business, great. Get into business. Get these things right. Okay? Get digital. 235 million people on mobiles today. Why do you think mobiles are more popular than websites? Can you give me a... Portability. Fantastic. Has anybody got the Make My Trip app installed on their phone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, lovely. I must tell my company, be popular again. You keep getting those notifications, 45% off, 30% off. How do you do that on a website? How do you do that on a website? You can't do that. It's instant communication to people. If you're getting into your own businesses, please stay out of SEO, SEMs and the digital marketing worlds that they're going to say, people like you. Get into mobiles, get your financials right, get your funding backup right, get your financials damn correct on a piece of paper before you attempt anything. It's a difficult world out there. It's a disruptive world out there. And it's an unforgiving world in every aspect. Does anybody understand the difference between Domino's and Haldiram's? You know what Haldiram's is? Yes. Okay, great. What's the difference between Domino's and Haldiram's? Domino's makes it fresh. Haldiram's makes stale. Not a good one if Haldiram hears. Yes? Okay. Home delivery. Write to me, I'll tell you what Domino's and Haldiram's is. Anyway, coming back to Make My Trip quickly. I don't want to take too much of your time in the morning. You know Make My Trip, but I'm sure you don't know this part of Make My Trip. We're a $1 billion turnover company today. It started off with 5 people. It's got 2,600 employees. That's not even counting the outsourced employees. The outsourced employees would be about another 5,000, close to that. Most people don't realize an online company also has a big offline presence, and I'm the proof of their offline presence standing here. I look after their entire offline presence across the world, except for the New York offices. Youngest yet largest travel firm, and what is important is the 47% market share that we hold today. In the online travel space in the country, we hold a 47% market share. That's dominant market share. When I say how many people know Make My Trip, when I see the show of hands, I'm very impressed. That's the aim. We need to get to every household and every place. But that's not all Make My Trip is all about. We also have a lot more going for us. One of you did their internship in Make My Trip. Is that person here? No? Okay. We have a lot more fun. I don't get to be a part of the fun, I'm always traveling, but otherwise people in the company have a lot of fun. We have our own rock bands, we have hackathons. You know what is a hackathon? Great. We have a lot of hackathons in the company. Company sponsors, a lot of goodies, sweets, food, everything. We have people walk in their PJs and come into the office on slippers, and we spend a weekend, nights, days together. We work on things. And it's a lot of exciting atmosphere. And why I'm telling you all this is most companies today have this kind of atmosphere. So you're in for a good life. You're heading for a very, very good life. At least for the next 5 years, you're in for a good life. I don't know post that. Post that, you just have to make it up on your own. Scale of operations is, we dispense about 25,000 air tickets today. We do about 7 million transactions in a year, which is about 20,000 transactions in a day. It's only digitally possible, technologically possible. 2,600 employees, which also includes finance, marketing, admin, HR. We can't manage this, and we dominate some destinations. But when I'm saying all this, how does it relate to you is what my question was. And the relationship is here. How did Make My Trip reach here? We started a holidays business, or we re-entered India in 2005. By 2015, 10 years, we're the youngest company today. Most companies have been there for 50 years, 100 years, more, 150. Some companies write 150 outside the board. I've worked for a few of them. What is the difference? Where did Make My Trip become so big in 10 years? This is what they did. We've questioned everything. That's what I want you guys to do. We question every model. When people said, no, people go to Thailand only for 4 nights. Why can't they go for 7 nights? For longer holidays, they go to Europe. That's not true. We have 10-night products, holidays going into Thailand, people are still buying. These are concepts, these are mindsets. Saying, go ahead, question mindsets. It's your age to do this. We grounded in our views, we're very disruptive in our thought process. We don't care about what market is thinking. If you see, our presence in media is very limited. We're not there. We don't want to be there. We do our work, we do our jobs, we're disruptive, we'll do anything. I can tell you how we dominate destinations. We were trying, and Andamans is the first one I've written because Andamans was a place where nobody used to go 4 years back. It used to be an LTC destination. I don't know how many of you know this, but one flight from Calcutta and take an LTC from the government and go to Andamans, and then there on you go overseas. It was a trick to get out of the country on LTC money. We were finding no other destination which had such beautiful beaches. And we went disruptive. We put up charters. We took an aircraft from Kingfisher at that time. We put it up on a regular flight between Delhi and Andamans. People started liking it. People were going to Phuket all the way for all this, or Maldives for all this. It's there. It's right there. No passport required. And then all the other airlines started off. And we lost our advantage. 2 years we lost our advantage of being the first ones. And we said, let's dominate the market. How do you dominate a market? Disruptive thought process. And unfortunately, this was mine. We lost money the first year, but ever since we've been making money. So my boss said, boss, you're on the verge of getting fired. You've lost us about 2 crores. But we just did a simple thing. I said, if you want to dominate a destination, how do you do? If 400 people from here, 500 people from here have to travel to Andamans, what do they need? They need an air ticket to get to Andamans. They need a hotel there. Let's buy off everything. And we just did just that. We just bought off every damn air ticket that was available to the city. 60% of the airline seats were with us. 60%, 70% of the hotel inventory was with us. And we just sat quiet. So now people want Andamans. It's there in the market. You can't buy, but from Make My Trip. It's not good market practices, but this is also being disruptive in your thoughts. And that's how we've been disruptive. And this is exactly what you guys need to do to get forward in life today. Not too much, I just don't want to say this, but I'm not sure how many of you want to go to a travel industry today, because travel industry seemingly is very, very small and very, very miniature. But I want to change that opinion, I want to change that paradigm before I walk out of this room. I've been with travel industry for about 20 years, 21 years now. 1.14 billion domestic visitors in the country. We make 10 rupees out of each visitor. What will you get? What is the money involved? The inbound tourism alone in the country got us to $18.45 billion. You know what is $18.45 billion? Can you count the zeros? Did you all hear in the news there was a defense deal of India buying some Apaches from US? It was made a big deal. It was $2.5 billion only. It was only $2.5 billion. Look at the money India made by just getting inbound tourists. Those 7 million inbound tourists coming into India fetched us $18.45 billion. You understand the scale now of how the market is. And we are ranked 42 in the world. So we have a huge scope of going up the chain. This is the number of people who travel overseas, about 17 million every year. And it's been jumping every year. The whole world market sees a 3%, 4% growth. India is seeing at 6%, 7%, 10%, 12% growth. Look at the global tourism earnings, world. It's $1.1 trillion. That's the global tourism earning. US gets the maximum out of it. What do we get? Only $18.45 billion. That's the scope. And anything in the market works as long as there is scope for growth. You don't have to get into travel because I'm saying so, but I thought just lay this on the table, and you guys should realize travel is not a very small industry to be in. It's also a great teacher. It brings a lot of countries to their, how important this travel is, it will bring a lot of countries to their knees. 2008, global recession hit. I just showed you US is the biggest earner of, earner of foreign exchange on the world tourism map. When recession hit, the Americans came down to India. And they said, please come to US. The ambassador came down to India. He said, you don't get visas, I will give you visas. If you have a genuine case, I will give it to you. These are the same Americans who used to sit on the high chairs and never look at us. But they were brought down to their knees because tourism went down. That's how important the tourism economy is for any country. And I was one of the happiest ones. I'd seen the Americans high and mighty all the time. When they came to India and they went city to city, office to office, literally begging for business, we were the happiest ones there. It's a lot of style, it's a lot of glamour. We get hosted dinners, far off mountain places, castles. We travel best. We stay at the best hotels in the world. It's a lot of hard work at the back end, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of abusive customers, a lot of 24/7 nights. But it's a great trade to be in. Make My Trip is thriving on it at this point of time. And so are so many companies. It's been a personal favorite as well. There is a big scope for global employment with travel, if anyone of you wants to get into travel ever. It's a very standardized product, unlike other industries in the world. And the rewards are very plenty. So if you are able to strive out the first 4-5 years of your life, professional life in travel, it's just a lot of life. When I tell people I travel, I take 3 flights a week, 4 flights a week, people say, wow. It's not wow for me anymore. But people say, wow. When I say, I've traveled the globe so many times over. I've stayed in London 4 years. I've stayed in Dubai 2 years. They say, wow. It's not wow for me anymore, but from your perspective, look at it. This is the chance you get if you get into an industry like this. So guys, that's it from me. Thank you so much. Just carry on.